Mr. Vivek KV.
Yes, sir.
That's how you pronounce your name in that order.
Yes.
What does KV stand for?
It's Kutikol Vittal.
Hmm?
Kutikol Vittal.
What is that?
In the house of Kutikol, Kutikol is a village in Kasargod,
All right.
and I derived my name out of the village.
Okay. So you have all along lived in Kerala.
I have lived for most of my life in Kerala.
Most
Then
of
I have been in Tamil Nadu for a while, West Bengal, then Delhi.
What is the relationship between Tamil and Malayalam?
They are linguistically, so Malayalam is actually a combination of Tamil and Sanskrit, but it derives its vocabulary predominantly from Tamil. From Tamil, yeah.
Right. Your special your optional subject is sociology.
For sure.
Can sociology help explain what is going on around Sabrimala temple these days in Kerala?
Yes, yes.
How can sociology help
Yes.
explain?
There are two ways which sociology can explain the fact. One is through a Durkheimian model, wherein a separation between sacred and profane is core to religion. What is defined as sacred is kept apart from profane. Now, here on the profane side, there is menstruating women of the age of 10 to 50 or 45. Now they are kept away from the temple because of this split. Now the issue with what Durkheim does not understand is who defines sacred and profane is the one who have power in societies. So most of societies being patriarchal, they have kept women out of such spaces. One is that, and the other way to look at it is from a structural functional manner, wherein carve the tribal areas of temples, wherein everyone is seen equal, everything is seen equal, women and men can enter. When they are templized, when they are made into more structural forms, these kind of rules come in, rituals are institutionalized, women are kept outside.
What is the name of the deity?
Ayyappan.
Ayyappan. I have the impression, based on what I have read somewhere, that the same deity in other places does not insist on this particular condition about women in a particular age group not coming, entering the temple.
Yes,
Is it
yes,
true?
it's true. It's particular to this temple. I'm not exactly sure why it is not there in other temples. I do not have an answer to that.
Okay. Why is secularism important for India? And do you think it is important for
Yes,
India?
I think it's important. Secularism is extremely important because if we have to build this country, which is extremely diverse when it comes to religion and culture, if that has to be molded into one single polity, it's very important that we keep secularism at the center of such ideas.
Can Kerala show the way in ensuring this?
Yes, yes, Kerala can definitely show the way in ensure this because we have a demography which is extremely diverse. We are 40% is Christians and Muslims and rest are Hindus. So it can be that crucible from which secular ideas can be derived
And they have lived happily together,
for a very long time and even today.
even today, more or less.
More or less.
Kerala has very strong social indicators,
Yes.
literacy, then health. On all sides, you see Kerala topping almost all the states.
Yes.
How do you explain this kind of development I mean, ahead of all the states in literacy, in women empowerment,
Yes.
and people, they are outgoing, even girls, they are nurses.
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, what is their special uh, in the place or in the people?
So I can explain that historically. So one thing is of the educational history of Kerala, which is started by both people who are indigenous to Kerala, who are kings and queens of Kerala. They had been investing in mass education. On the other side, we also had, since we are a coastal state, we also have had a lot of Dutch, Portuguese, and British coming into Kerala. So they have all started the educational missions. So the place where I come from is Talasheri. So in Malabar, one of the major areas where missionaries have worked is in Talasheri. There's a Basil Educational Mission who started Brennan School, and I'm a product of all those. I went to one of these schools, and hence I could develop a very strong language and ideals which are much more liberal, let's say, because you see different people from different religions are coming together and producing an educational program. So that has produced a lot of secular ideals and others when it comes to education. Second, when it comes to women empowerment, I think it has to do with the communist movement we have had in Kerala. So one of the main agenda of the communists during the early phases when the movement was starting was to empower women, bring them to the polity, bring them to work. So that also has contributed to women empowerment, which was later taken up by the government once the Kerala was formed in 1956. So these are, I think, one of the
And
reasons.
about the healthcare?
Healthcare, again, we had the missionaries, they invested in two spaces. One is education and the other is health. So that gave the health infrastructure initially at the ground level. So there was no requirement for government to start something at the ground level. Ground level was already managed. The government had to institutionalize it and produce a structure around it. So groundwork has been done very well by people.
You mean more of missionary and private sector providers, or even public health systems have done well?
Yes, public health have also done well. Like my district has a district, every district has a district hospital which is pretty much very functional and subsidized.
And about the lower hospitals like PSCs or CSCs, are they delivering services?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes. Healthcare is not an issue in Kerala.
You seem to be having a very good record in your discipline.
Yes.
I mean, in electronics, you are serving Samsung. I mean, what struck you to shift to civil services from there?
The idea of civil services came to me when I was in IIN Calcutta. So initially I was getting exposed to social sciences, economics for that matter. And that broadened my ideas about how, and there was public policy also in IIN Calcutta. That broadened my idea how exactly, if I work in these areas, my impact on the social structures would be much more than I would work in a private sector. So that is where the idea came in. And later I started reading much more on all this and more literature on these things. And gradually I decided that I should try pursuing this if I have an opportunity.
I mean, do you think it will be a total change of track, or do you find some applications of your knowledge fund in the jobs you are looking forward to?
Yes, sir. I feel that there would be a strong correlation between the job I was doing and the job I would be taking up if I become a civil servant. Because I've done management, I have an MBA from IIN Calcutta. So one of the core things about management is team building, managing change and innovation, making prudent decisions, which I've done in my work. I have launched a product in Samsung, which was work from scratch. I had to build processes, build teams. So all these things would definitely help me in making an impact on the civil service area too.
But working in government is different than working in
Yes.
or studying management courses, because it's a very crowded arena.
Yes.
Public administration.
Yes.
You have political representatives
Yes. Yes.
all over.
Yes.
MPs, MLAs, then these local government
Yes.
office bearers.
Yes.
So, if you are placed in a district,
Yes.
in charge of district, I mean, how do you look at the role of a collector in such a scenario?
So the role of a collector, is three-dimensional. As far as I have known in a district, one is revenue collection, the other is law and order, and the third is development administration. So now the challenges which you have been saying is one on the resource level. As in the private, the amount of resources I might be given as a team manager there would not be available at the government level. So one is how to manage with such resources and such ambitious agenda. That would be one challenge. And the other thing what I'm thinking of is a dual boss. One, I have an executive boss and a political boss. So that kind of a structure I've already managed in Samsung, wherein we had a Korean boss and an Indian boss. So to an extent, I think I can manage there. And thirdly,
Plus so many participants. In the
stakeholders,
public welfare jobs. You have so many participants.
Yes.
People, representatives, municipalities, then Zilla Parishad, and so on.
Yes.
So, what would be the key role of the district administrator in such a situation?
Okay, sir. I think consensus building. Consensus building is extremely important because these people would have different interests across from where they come from. So one of the key things would be the district collector. Is he able to understand the interests, what exactly they are, how they are oriented? and can he bring them to a table and develop some consensus around it?
Kerala is one of the most developed states in the country.
Yes.
Similarly, some states are doing better
Yes.
than other states in India in terms of development indicators.
Yes.
If China and India were one country
Yes.
and somebody arranged all the Chinese provinces and Indian states according to a hierarchy of performance against development indicators, health, education, etc.,
Yes.
which Indian states would be among the top five?
So definitely Kerala would come on the top. I believe so. Even if China is integrated to India and
At number one,
at number one.
you are absolutely right. Kerala would still be number one among all the Chinese and Indian provinces. That's the impression I have. Now, covering for my colleague who sits here, which are the areas of India's foreign relations where India has done well in the past 4.5 years? I've started with a question on your side, so you can take over from now. And my question is, which are the areas of foreign policy where India has done well in the past 4.5 years?
One thing I would say is building partnerships, which comes out of an online movement in a very practical manner. I think we are able to implement it right now. We are able to build partnerships with Saudi, Israel, and Iran at the same time, which I think is an amazing diplomatic achievement. On the other hand, we are also managing China and America in a multipolar world because of the kind of history we have had in foreign policy. I think we are managing really well. A multipolar world is actually beneficial to us rather than a challenge, because we have had ideals to manage a multipolar world rather than a monopolar.
Anyway, it's okay, What is the neighborhood first policy of Prime Minister?
I think neighborhood first policy was put forward by IK Gujarat somewhere in the 1990s, wherein we do not look at neighborhoods in a transactional manner. We are much more providing when it comes to neighborhood, and even if the reciprocation is limited, we would still provide. We would keep them first in all our agenda and provide them whatever it is required.
So tell us briefly India-Pakistan.
India-Pakistan relations. India-Pakistan has had a very dialogue, conflict kind of a relationship for a very long time. It starts, the cause of that conflicts is at the birth of this nation itself. When Pakistan, we call it Batwara and Pakistan calls it Azadi. There itself we have that conflict. And then further on we have had many boundary disputes. And somewhere in 1980s, Pakistan also started fueling terrorists into our Kashmir mainland. And that has caused further strain to these relations. Many prime ministers have taken very bold steps from India to engage them to manage this conflict, one being Atal Bihari Vajpayee's Lahore bus trip and things around it. But then
Tell us briefly the recent
ones again. Now the stand India has towards Pakistan is that talk and terror cannot go together. So unless these terror attacks which happen,
no, Pakistan has launched an offensive. Every day they are talking. The new Prime Minister Imran Khan. We should have a talk with Pakistan. Should we go?
I think at some level engagement should be there. Currently I do not think a high level political engagement should be there, because whenever we have had it, we have been repudiated with an attack. So unless that assurance is given, we should not have a highest level of political engagement. On the other side, we can have the things like Nimrana dialogue and all Channel 2 kind of diplomacies. That should be kept alive at any point in time.
And with China?
With China, we should engage politically at the highest levels.
That we have already.
Yes. With China, so I don't what exactly.
I mean, post. Tell us briefly the recent development.
The recent development. One of the biggest challenges we have had with China is their aggressive policies across. Expansionist policies across when it comes to
how to handle that.
In a very practical manner, I think that India cannot alone handle it. China is too big. So one, we have to build these alliances across.
That is Quad, eh?
Quad, or even the Southeast Asian nations should be linked to our foreign policies, neighborhood first policies. All that should be looked into very carefully.
No. Quad, should we have this military element in it?
It should not be overtly military. Currently, we should, because China is also. I don't think we should push China to that extreme that we are military and hence they'll also repudiate in the same manner. We shouldn't do that. Currently, we should just keep it to patrolling and a minimal security agenda. It shouldn't be put through as a military one, just the security agenda for the entire Asia Pacific region. That would be a better way to do it.
Thank you.
Your interview is over. Now we'll give you some briefing, and you can take down
Yes, sure.
if you want to take down anything. I think you are a fairly strong candidate, and you have done well. You have answered my questions quite well. You look quite confident. If you smile once in a while, that will make you still better. I mean, the suggestion that I can give you will only to make you look stronger as a candidate.
Okay.
But no basic issues. I don't see any basic issues with you. Focus on at least two things.
Okay.
Anything that appears in this sheet, which you have filled and which will be in front of the interview panel in the UPSC, and all the current affairs. We can't possibly in one mock interview cover everything, but prepare a list of possible questions on any and everything that appears in this sheet in relation to you.
Yes, sir.
Plus all the current affairs. When is your interview?
5th of March.
5th of March. So the current issues will probably change.
Yes.
Budget
Budget
would have come, and there may be issues and questions around that. So you should prepare on that.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
You didn't
Bhasan,
ask
sir.
this time.
Well, I don't have to ask much except that current environmental issues you should be very well prepared. And I didn't ask, but I hope that you know
Yes.
about two things.
Yes.
Number one, what is the Silent Valley controversy?
Yes.
Do you know what is the and why this project was finally allowed to
I know
leave out?
I know
The reasons.
Okay. And I know what the controversy is. I don't exactly know the reasons.
This is what I'm saying. So
Okay.
it is Kerala specific and it is being quoted internationally as an example, right?
Okay.
This is number one. And the second thing which I would suggest that learn a little bit about this current problem which is now pan-India, that is air pollution, which is growing.
Okay.
And the government seems to be not able to fathom that how to handle it.
Okay.
Right.
I'll definitely.
And the third thing which is to my mind is very important is about climate change and Katowice.
Yes.
Is Katowice a success or a failure?
Okay.
If it is a failure, why? If it is a success, why?
Yeah.
I think
You mentioned when you talked about your MBA.
Yes.
You said shift. Why you are shifting? You said you studied sociology and economics also. You said
Yes.
there are certain economic issues which are of very current importance. Farm distress is one.
Okay. Okay.
And these farm loan waivers and things like that, and the budget would be out by that time
Okay.
to go for interview. So some of the major issues, FDI, whether how we have performed. You are in IT.
I am in no. I am a
Samsung.
product manager in Samsung.
Samsung.
Samsung. Yes.
So from the field, you are from electronics and communications.
Yes.
so
And then Samsung. So yeah, that is a link.
Digital India,
Yes.
things like that, BharatNet and so
Yes.
on.
Yes. I've covered it. Anything else?
Foreign policy, you're good, but the thing is that you go in details.
Okay, that is an issue. I've got.
Don't go into history, because I asked about Prime Minister Modi's policy.
Okay.
We should have concentrated on that.
So if someone asks me about like India-Pakistan relations in the current,
They'll ask in the current sense.
okay. So how should I put it through? I mean, is there a particular structure?
The last 5 years, he tried his best. He went to
Okay.
Lahore, met several times with Nawaz Sharif. Nothing came.
Oh.
Terror and talk will not go side by side.
Yeah.
Then you give your own assessment to that. We should have. We should go for negotiations. If you think and defend it,
Yes.
why negotiation?
Yes. Yes.
Direct talk or channel 2 or whatever you
Okay.
you will suggest. And current topics, international affairs like Brexit
Yeah.
or US, Europe, US internal situation, Trump's policy, India, US. China is very important.
Okay.
Indo-China, China. Muscle flexing and
Okay.
Chinese, India, how India is stealing human and post.
Me saying that India is like not strong enough to defend China, would that be an issue?
That may not be correct.
No, that will not be correct. Don't make a blunt statement. Probably
Okay.
it's not desirable. You should say this. It's not desirable at this stage
Okay.
to confront India militarily.
I think it will be better to say that in the present times, confrontation is not the solution. Right? It's not a
Neither
question
with
of
Pakistan nor with China or with anybody. Our defense policy
because having large military weight doesn't ensure your success.
Yeah.
It is the strategy which ultimately will decide. And strategy is minus hardware.
And we are not the India of 1962 anymore.
yeah, be clear.
That's
Thank you. All the best.
Thanks a lot.
All the best.
We are quite sure you should do well. You should do well.
And body language wise, language.
Yeah.
The body language was fine.
Okay.
And I think the chairman has already given you the success tips.
Okay.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
All this.
Cheats.
It is so.